Ready? All right, we're good. All right, so change of location. We went against the building versus against the wind. I think we'll win this battle this time around.
Maybe.
Quick recap, though. We were talking about market shifts with the used car market, buying and overpaying. A deadly task right now. If you're out there at auctions, waving your hands in the air or buying online, I think you can trade easier. I think the market and the customer's understanding, if they weren't in the market for the past 60, 90 days, they don't know what really took place in used car values or trade values. And there's a couple of different takes we're going to recap real fast on. Dan, if you want to touch back about what we did discuss about auction, waving your hand in the air, and the deadly decision that may be right now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing the market's already starting to change. So it's starting to change on, you see a lot of dealers now, we were talking about 20s and 21s, not having 20s.
Right.
If you got 19s, God help you. But if you're running
19s, you're going out of business.
You're out, right. If you have 20s, if you're running out of 20s, you see a lot of dealers still buying late model. So 19s, maybe some enterprise 20s, rental car 20s, just so they have something to sell. Right. Those prices are still trending about the same. Your 14s, 15s, 16s, those are the ones you're starting to see break right now.
Yeah. I
saw it a lot this week where it's starting to lose a value. If MMR is 20 grand, it might be bringing 18 because frankly, let's admit 20 grand is not a real MMR if you're looking at it right now. But,
right, those are over.
It might be 18, might be 19, but you can see it go. This is the first week I've seen in a long time it's going down, not up, which shows a little bit of promise for us because if you have a good inventory and you're not jam-packed, you've got some room to buy. So that'll be a good thing.
So I hear people going out to buy in bulk.
Okay.
Labor Day's coming up, and there's a lot of people trying to make, monopoly moves.
Were they drunk?
Well, and that's possible because, not drinking at work is one thing, but drinking after 5 and buying online at night, that can be tricky if you a couple of shots in.
It's a good idea. Just put a couple proxies in, sure.
So I would say if you're buying in bulk, you better have a very big command of your market or else you're going to be stuck, which some stores have that. They have that luxury. And let's just talk about Carmax for a hot second. They've got stores all over the region. They can place cars, even though they may have overpaid for something. They've got the ability to ship and place a car in a store.
Yeah.
It might be more conducive to its market needs for resale. Although they may acquire in the Northeast, it may be a Southeast car, like a convertible in November.
Sure.
That's a bad move to buy if you're in the Northeast or the Mid-Atlantic because of the wind and the coldness of October, November, December, and then you got that possibility of snow, sleet, rain. That market takes a nosedive. But if you're a company as large as Carmax, and you're buying all of them at a very low level price point because of the market shift up north, you can shift them down south to Georgia, Florida, North Carolina, South Carolina, or anywhere down Gulf states and make a killing because the acquisitions, the benefit. You make your wins when you acquire the car at the right cost.
Right, and they can do everything themselves, really, shipping, recon.
They're not subjected to the same pains that we go through.
They kind of make their own market too, with their own Carmax financing, so you don't really have any loan to value issues. You don't have any kind of book issues there. They're their own book. So
you set the bar based on what your expectations that your portfolio is or whatever your goals are as a company.
Yeah, they've done a good job.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people talked about that when they first came out back in the 90s, about this isn't going to last long, it's going to be a flash in the pan, and quite frankly, they've controlled and dominated that used car sector for so long, and then ventured into the new car franchise ownership, and were very successful. Now you can see them, at least in the DMV, offering those stores. I know like Nissan brands and certain other brands, I don't know if they had Kia or Hyundai. Maybe one or two.
Yeah.
But those guys, they're letting those brands go. They're hanging on to the money makers like Toyota, or maybe a big name, higher line car line that's doing well in an area. It might be down in, again, Florida, Georgia. They might have a Mercedes deal.
Yeah.
But those are things that are kind of, it's an anomaly. That's not an everyday car dealership. It's not an everyday marketplace kind of thing that you're working with. So let's talk about, you run a Highland used car operation in Baltimore. I'm in a Toyota operation in Baltimore. Kind of two different spectrums, but very similar customer base because they have the ability to buy either or willingness to do so. Neither one's a black eye on a portfolio of ownership saying, well, you own a Toyota. Well, that's not a bad place.
Yeah.
So them having a Toyota and an Audi or a BMW or Mercedes in their driveway is not really an unexpected thing to see. So we share a very similar client. However, the buying trends are slightly different.
Yeah, a lot.
You've got more qualified mindset buying your car.
Yeah.
And then a very more accepted in their mind, saying, well, that should be a depreciated car because it is such a volume seller.
Sure.
I should be able to buy it cheap.
Yeah.
So why don't you talk about that a little bit? In your opinion, what does that look like to a buyer if you're looking at highline used, or what they say is an everyman's car in the used car market? What's the trends that you see?
So we're seeing a lot of our buyers that come in are looking for either an older model with good miles, or you're going to be late model, 19, 18 possibly, certified to get that new car that they may not have in a 20 model, but for a big discount.
Right.
So, the other thing we're seeing a lot is, as far as new cars, we were talking about, 20s and 21s again. We have a lot of buyers who are put it all on hold.
Right.
They're not buying a 20 right now.
Well, because they can afford to do so.
Yeah, sure.
They don't.
Yeah.
They're not pinned in a position where they've got to buy a car.
Yeah, our brand, said sent out emails. 21's around the corner, and they're good with that. So they'll extend leases out 3 to 6 months for you.
Are you seeing a change in that though now with the leasing companies? Are they backing up on the extension programs?
No, they're handing them out like Skittles. They don't care.
So right now we're seeing, at least on the tier 2 level import on Toyota specifically, leasing companies before were handing out extensions because they didn't have staff to bring them in. They didn't have shippers to come pick them up, take them off the auction, and get them remarketed. So therefore, that's dead money to them. If they can still collect a lease payment on an extension to a good consumer portfolio, why not collect the money, let them drive it a little longer until the market shifts where it's safe to go back to work? That all being said, we're seeing now where Toyota's no longer, and I'm sure Nissan, Honda, Kia, even Hyundai are following suit. They're no longer doing these extensions. They're no longer doing furlough payments. They're expecting to go back to business as usual, as most of the United States has kind of started treating business as usual anyways for every other industry. The market is now caught up to that, and that whole passive mindset of we're going to help you through this is kind of over. That goes back to supply and demand on buying cars, waving your hand in the air, at least on tier 2 level, because those cars are now going to be forced back into marketplace, whether they buy out their leases because they know they got a great deal on residual value. And we can talk about that in a little bit too, about having that secured, knowing you're not overpaying for your own car. So it maybe makes sense to buy your lease out. If you're coming to trade in still, you possibly do have equity. If you have a residual value coming off lease, if you're a smart consumer, you're looking to trade that car, not just dissolve the lease and make it go away, because then that goes into the used car market and gives somebody else the ability, dealers like us, a chance to make and profit off of that. So for consumer buyer beware right now, if you're on a lease, and maybe we can use this as a header, and maybe we'll just do a couple of minutes on this topic. If you're in a lease now, coming due, expiration, or you've been on a couple of extensions from maybe May, June, July, smart money says buy that lease out. You've got a guaranteed value of what your residual is, what your buyout is from 3 years ago or 2 years ago when you established that lease. Not trading in and taking advantage of whatever that trade value or equity position is criminal. I mean, just you're throwing money away. Or trading it in and getting that to reduce the principal balance on your new loan, or if you're going to redo a lease, use that as your upfront money to cover your taxes, tax first payment, whatever. Examine and take a look at that prior to saying, I want to get my keys back in here, I want to dissolve my lease. Do not do it. Again, buyer beware. Do not turn your lease in. Buy it or trade it.
Yeah.
Agree or disagree?
Absolutely agree. Yeah, do not turn that in. If somebody's saying, if you're a salesperson saying, or you hear, well, just turn it in and then buy the new one, stop them and say, hey, let's find out what mine's worth. But do your research too, like you're trading it. So a lot of people don't know if you lease a car, it's just another way of buying it now. You have your options at the end. You can turn it in, you can trade it. Look at possibly trading that vehicle, because there's a good bit of manufacturers out there that have equity in it. I would imagine Toyota being one of them.
I would think so.
We're
you guys are dialed in. I mean, any worthy brand, highline, even like I say, tier 2 import, like Toyota, Honda especially. This is their profession. Leasing cars, bringing them in to remarket to the dealers, a certified pre-owned, and then having programs to cater to that buyer at that time. This is all geared around as a residual business for them. So they're pretty spot on what their values are. Again, nobody saw this coming as far as the value spiking. So there's a big benefit to those people who have those cars, but you may not be in the market, or we're looking to make a decision, and getting that extension was, in your eyes, just a benefit not having to deal with it right now. But quite frankly, you got like Apple stock. If you have a lease from a couple of years ago, you got Apple stock right now. You need to cash that in and take advantage of it.
Yeah, especially if you're under miles, or frankly, even if you're just a little bit over or at the miles. But if you're under miles right now, I think everybody's looking for, a late model, low mileage vehicle to sell on their pre-owned lot, because they don't have anything else to sell.
Right. So let's talk about new cars for a second. We touched on before the wind came through and kind of ruined our audio about new car market, lack of inventory, availability. One would think supply and demand would then raise prices or raise retail values of these cars. And in some degree, I guess you can do that if that's a short game play for you as a manufacturer supported store. Big companies like the one I represent that have 70 plus stores of their own, they're looking for sustaining a customer relationship and building that base for longevity. They are not looking to gouge or take advantage of it. Quite frankly, with a shortage of inventory, one would think there'd be a little bit more of a balance of forcing the consumer's hand to pay a little bit more. But we're taking deals that are, I mean, almost ridiculous in my eyes. And maybe it's just that retail giant inside of me that wants to come out and say, no, supply and demand, folks, you have to pay a little bit more.
Yeah.
But I also understand the mindset of keeping that machine rolling because we're building new car inventory availability based on that turn, and also having a satisfied customer based on earning them a great deal, or earning business on that great deal that maybe not somebody else is giving right now on a shorter or a smaller scale. So do you see the same thing going on in that new car Highline side as well?
Yeah. I mean, we're taking some crazy deals when you think about a Highline vehicle, $80,000, $90,000. Deals that you're like, why? But you got to do it. And I think as far as, if you see the same thing, when these 21s are hitting, if you're not in a good position, if you're not turning a certain percentage of your inventory, you're not going to get those new cars.
Right.
So I think this 6-month debacle that we're seeing, could easily turn in for dealers who are looking to charge a premium.
They're trying to sell what they have at a premium, not worried about that term.
Right.
It's a short-sighted view.
Yeah.
If you're a businessman, you don't care about the now, you care about the long game.
Yeah.
This is a marathon for anybody who owns property, acreage, invested millions of dollars in building a facility, has a reputation for great service and parts business, and that repeat referral business that we thrive off of and actually survive on. You're not going knee deep on somebody for a one-time hit. You're still going to play the game the right way, do great discounts, build a good customer following, good public awareness as a company as far as your brand. And I think that wins the day on the new car side.
Yeah. You're ask a fair price, you're going to see that customer again. Sure. You charge somebody a premium right now, you're never going to see that person again.
Somebody's going to wake them up. Whether they wake up now or somebody else does it later, they're going to get woken up about what you did.
Not the right thing to do. So I know this company in particular, I mean, they're very smart. I mean, they'll make $1 10 times before they take a $5 bill.
Right.
So, and it just makes sense business-wise as well. So they're getting more inventory, making profit and keeping things moving. Parts service, they'll service those vehicles. Yeah. They'll get a trade-in they can sell on their pre-owned lot, and that's how you keep everything rolling throughout this pandemic.
So we're going to stop for a quick second right now. We're going to come back on a different topic. So if you like what you hear, subscribe and like the page. Share this with other pages or other people that you know that might find benefit in this content. When we come back, we're going to talk about more about how to buy a car right now on the consumer side. Yeah. Although it probably goes against the grain of what we really do for a living.
Hopefully they come to us.
Transparency. If we tell the truth right now, and if you're in that DMV marketplace, we're going to give our links or our information on how to contact us directly. You can deal with me on a Toyota or Dan on anything Highline pre-owned or a certified pre-owned, and then a new car Audi. So we're here to represent anything we can to do the best we can for the consumer. So again, stay tuned, like and subscribe. We'll be back in a minute.